doesn't end well unless it ends. Can't just report the fucking obvious. Just a motherfucking jump. Just go. And we are going right now. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy and the other fucking guy. What do you got to drinking already over there?
I got myself a butterscotch breve this morning.
Wow.
I was feeling coffee this morning.
Would you get up early?
Yeah. I got up like 7:30 today, so got some work done this morning.
Man.
Got a little bit of coffee, get me going through the podcast. Be a good day. Should be a good day.
Yes, it will. And Leo's ready to go too. He's getting that caffeine in. I got mine right here. I am good to go. So, obviously, the next best thing to Monday Night Football is Thursday Night Football. On a short week, I was pretty excited about the game last night, being a Steeler fan, and going to play the Cincinnati Bengals. And knowing that the Cincinnati Bengals have not played that well this year, losing Joe Burrow and Jake Browning not doing very well. So they made a quick trade with Cleveland who had benched Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco last night in Cincinnati, he actually played pretty well this past weekend too. He, second half, he did better than the first half, and he started hitting his stride. Well, you would think that Joe Flacco, he had his best game in the last couple of years. And I don't know if it's because Joe Flacco played so well, he did, or how much of that, too, was an awful fucking Pittsburgh Steelers defense again. Now, neither team has much of a running game. Ours a little bit better than theirs, but not by much. And both teams' running games were off to the races last night. The difference being, really in the game, is Cincinnati still had a couple healthy weapons in T. Higgins and in Jamar Chase. And I don't know how many times, especially at the end, when Pittsburgh, all they needed to do was stop the last drive to win the game. They kicked a field goal, but there was plenty of time left for the Bengals to get in field goal position. There was a good kickoff by the Steelers, but the defense, you figure at least once the Steelers could come up with some plays, right?
Yeah.
At least once. But no, this was that was early. That's the first quarter, dude. They went down the field, big throw, phenomenal. But that's it. That's the only fucking wide receiver we have is DK Metcalf.
I forget you guys have Metcalf now.
Yeah, and we got 4 fucking tight ends. Every time the Steelers line up for offense, it looks like a goal line offense, where everybody's on the line. You know what I mean? How they're crowded. That's what it looks like for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And somehow Aaron Rodgers made that shit work last night because there's no Steeler fan that I know that likes this Arthur dude who used to coach the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
Nobody likes Arthur. He's an awful offensive coordinator. And for the most part, the Steelers have had awful offensive coordinators for years now. I mean, I think in the whole Tomlin era, we might have had one defense or one good offensive coordinator. One.
Pretty crazy, honessly.
Isn't it,
for how successful the Steelers have been in the.
But you know what? You know what? Yeah, not super successful. The whole problem that Steeler fans have is that we have high expectations, and we've done better than average. We make the playoffs, and then we get eliminated from the playoffs. Or we'll look good part of the year and then not so good. Or, there was Ben he came back a year, probably too long, but the year prior, the Steelers went on like an 11-game winning streak.
Really?
And it was a long winning streak. Ben second to last year. And then because we didn't have a running game when it became playoff time, we fell apart.
Gotcha.
Yeah, running game is so fucking important, and that's been demonstrated now here more recently. I mean, look at the Eagles. The Eagles are struggling this year. What is the difference between last year and this year? Is the pressure wasn't totally on Jalen Hurt because they had a great running game,
Right.
and Saquon Barkley's still a great player. I'm not blaming him at all. I'm just saying their running game so far this year is not clicking, and that's the difference. And you look at the teams that are, they have a good running game. You gotta be able to spread things out. And here, Pittsburgh again, the end, but again, we haven't seen Pat Freiermuth for the first 5 games hardly at all. And then all of a sudden, we paid him a lot of money too.
He's the tight end, right?
Tight end. But he has been the least used tight end.
Out of the few that you have.
Then we got that Washington dude who's like a tackle playing tight end, and he's just ginormous. And it's great when we can get him the ball and stuff. But I'm just like, you just look, Aaron Rodgers was slick in the pocket. I think maybe he got
good. Yes, he looked good.
Dude, he looked good.
Man.
It's not on him. The 2 old guys put on a display last night.
You're not right.
They really, really did.
Yeah.
It was a fun game to watch, but as a Steeler fan, I'm pissed because we had a chance. Look at he's like, get off me, bro. But the Steelers had a chance to really take super control of the division if they win last night. Then they're going to be up by 3 games on every team, right? But no, there's always something. And again, this is the highest paid defense in the league.
The Steelers, really?
Yeah. Dude, we paid a lot of these guys. I mean, and look at where's my little dude? Don't I have, is it at my house?
I think that
It's
one
at
might
my
be
house.
at your house.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, my little TJ Watt little.
Yeah, that one's at your house.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So Watt, he's at least come up big one motherfucking series. One series. And Ramsey got played. That by far was his worst game last night. It was crushing, man. It was crushing. I wish I had taken the over. I knew the over. I'm like, but usually sometimes you think when that can happen, it's going to be the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
It turns into a defensive game. And, you know, how well are they really going to do? But the Bengals looked like the Bengals can look with Joe Burrow. They looked like last year's team that put up a lot of points, but their defense was suspect too.
Gotcha.
The difference is their defense played better than ours, especially at the end. They came up with some strong plays, but for the most part, neither team could stop the other. And look at the yards, man. Look at the passing yards. Over 300 yards for Joe Flacco.
At 400, basically. He's at.
And then how many touchdowns did he have? Why is it not showing that? He had a couple out of all that, right? The other one.
3.
31 of 47, 342, 3, and no interceptions.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and that was the difference in the ball game. The turnovers hurt Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh kept staying in it, but couldn't pull off the win at the end. Even though we have the best kicker as well, it was their kicker that ended up getting a chance to win the game. Just tough, man. Just tough. Just disappointing, honestly. They got to get that shit figured out on defense. They are going to get hammered in social media by the fans today. Hammered, and deservedly so. Deservedly so. This, again, is the highest paid defense, and you still have Cam Hayward. You know, I don't understand it. I honestly don't. I don't understand why they're not living up to even the Browns, who suck. Their defense is still solid. You know,
they just can't seem to score anything.
Yeah, their offense is just god horrible. And yeah, but look at Joe Flacco. He was struggling in Cleveland, and this just shows you that no matter, yes, a good quarterback is super, super important, but you got to have weapons. If you don't have the weapons,
Then the quarterback doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
right? Because you look at your 49ers, Brock Purdy going down, and Mac Jones has done pretty solid filling in because they still have those other weapons. And I think Mac Jones is still somebody that can have a career in the NFL.
Too. Yeah, I agree.
But Joe Flacco looks like two different people right now. But the Bengals have how do you let somebody like Jamar Chase have at times look like nobody is on him? The number one wide receiver probably in the league, and nobody is on him. Nobody. I don't know. Like, would you do this? I don't know why it's any different. You played soccer, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes whatever the type of format of offense or defense you tried to play, sometimes when another team would have a star player, I would take a player, and you maybe your coach would do this too, where you put somebody on that player and you tell them, I don't care where the motherfucker goes on the field, you go with him. You go with him. Prevent him from getting the ball, and if he gets the ball, take it away. That your focus is that your number one job is that single player to shut down. And sometimes you don't have to do that because the other team will have a good player. But I'm talking about when you're playing a team that has that one elite dude, and you're like, everybody knows he's good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, was that something?
Yeah, no, that was
you put
super,
somebody
super
on
common.
that, right?
Not only did I experience it on the defensive end, because I was that player that was typically put on a person because my defense was pretty all right. Plus, I didn't mind getting physical, right? So I 100% know exactly what we're talking about.
I think that's that way in basketball.
Exactly. That's what I was going to tell you.
I think it's that way in why wouldn't you do that?
100%. You almost get into the mentality where like you're no longer playing a game. You're playing follow this guy. You are gonna stick on him, and that's pretty much it. You don't care about the score. You don't care about nothing else. Your
job is that guy.
Yep. You don't worry yourself about anything else. There's 10 other people on the field that can worry about the rest.
There
of
you
the
go.
Part, yeah.
I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a podcaster with 4 viewers. So thank you 4 people, and hit that subscribe button for me. Also, you can contact me on other social media, which is Instagram, Facebook, and X.
Don't forget TikTok.
Can't forget TikTok. Putting a lot of shit up on TikTok with the clips that we've been doing, and of course, all the clips you can see a bunch of them on YouTube as well. And that's what we're trying to do. So is grow that, bring attention here, so that people can enjoy the whole thing like the handful of you do, and much appreciated. So, all right. Yeah, that was last night. And, I wanted to share this. I want to do more interviews, and we're going to be doing that here soon. And I've talked about it, and I'm done talking about it. We're going to make it happen. And I started thinking last night, because Dawn is in contest prep, right? And I've done contest prep, but I've never lived with someone who was doing contest prep. I've had friends that I've, helped them who competed at, very high levels and won. But living with someone, I've never done that. So I know my own experience, but this is a little bit different in seeing her do this. And our scale has been fucked up for a couple of weeks. I'll get to that in a second. But that's all fixed now. But I was thinking, just the conversations Dawn and I have been having every day, and the things that people say to her in the gym that come up to her, or she's just in that shape now where she's not in good shape. She's in shape where it's like, wow, you just know that person probably is competing. And so, although she was been asked that a lot, like now, the
People
other
just
people who
assume.
compete, they're like, you're competing, right? Yeah. And so she has some weird conversations with people, though, in some respect, because they'll ask her about her diet, what she's doing training-wise, cardio, and even, the PEDs, the performance-enhancing drugs.
Okay.
And because some people are natty, and that's fine. You can be natty. We're not natty, nor do we want to be. And she doesn't either. So, and we talk about that. We'll share that with anyone, what she actually does. We don't hide it. She doesn't hide it. That's the sport, but she's had some issues recently with some gut issues.
Okay.
And acid reflux, and getting in a certain position, it starts to come up, and so nausea. I mean, I don't know, 6 weeks ago or whenever it was that it first started, it was so bad. I even had to take her to the emergency room.
Wow.
So she's got to take some nausea medication. And we have to be even more careful about what she's eating. I love red meat. She loves red meat. She loves steak. But that seems to bother her a little bit more in the digestion than chicken does.
Okay.
So we're having more chicken, obviously, and things like that. But people will ask her, well, do you think it's the PEDs? Do you think it's the drugs? She's been using for 1.5 years without any issues. Because we always, the dosages may change, and you do cycle different things, but there's some things that we typically do. And in her case, one of the things that we do on a regular basis, nonstop, no matter whether we're doing a contest or not, is growth hormone, HGH. And we use the real growth hormone, the somatropin, versus using the peptides. I think the peptides are great. I recommend them to other people based on their goals and their age. But for us, and based on our age, being she's 56 and I'm 57, it's really the growth hormone that is the best. You replace it. You got to replace it, because at our age, if you try to take something like sermorelin, testosterone, and CJC, and these growth hormone peptides that increase your natural growth hormone, well, our body is producing so little of it that trying to increase it naturally is still not going to be enough. So you got to replace it. And for real performance, you have to exceed it. It's just like TRT. TRT is about replacement or optimization, okay? And there's certain levels for that. And you can get into a certain kind of shape with that. But if you want certain other results, you're going to have to use higher doses. You're going to have to do a cycle.
Yeah.
Same thing happens with the HGH. But she's been doing 2 IUs, and I recommend this for any woman that is in that similar situation as far as dosage. People underdose it, I think. I just think they do. I think there's rarely side effects. People can argue with me all they want. I know what my personal experience is, her personal experience, and the personal experience of about 1,000 motherfuckers that we've helped, okay? So lots of experience with this, real world results. And 2 IUs I think is great for women. 3 for men, for just general overall health purposes, especially when you're older, if you're interested in being your best self and longevity, and if you can afford it. It's like Botox.
And for the people that don't know, what is an IU?
That's the measurement of the dosage. Like sometimes you might, dosing something might be in micrograms. Sometimes it might be in milligrams. In this case, it's in IUs. So it's... So, yeah, that's just the dosage that you're measuring out. And so 3 for men, but I think for men, if you want more performance benefits, you're going to be in the 4 to 8 area. And I did 3 for years and years. And once I competed, I did more. I pushed it up to the 6-8 area. And then after the competition, I've pretty much been doing the 4. I went to 4 above the 3. But 3 and 4 is super solid for men, just in general, just living life, not competing. It's really, really good. So, but that's something she's doing whether she's competing or not, okay? And at different times, even though she hadn't decided to compete, we ran some cycles of Anavar and Winstrol for her. We have her using that now, She takes breaks from that, but she obviously is doing that now. She's not injecting any testosterone or primobolan right now. Primobolan, definitely, if the woman is going to compete and wants to use an injectable, that's probably the one to go to. That's going to give you the chance with the least possible side effects for women. And it's just a great one. But women are going to get more muscle benefits than men as far as size, I would go. So it's just where somebody's at, what their genetics are. And her genetics are phenomenal. I mean, just phenomenal. I mean, she's going to be competing in the figure class. But if she wanted to compete in the bigger physique class, she could. She'd have to put on more muscle to do that, but she could. But she doesn't want to look like that or be that bulky. She likes being the figure, which is hard. The bikini is the very fit but more smoother look, where if you look at Dawn right now, she's not smooth. She's got veins ripping out that every dude it's what we all want when we get that pump, right? Those veins popping. She has that all fucking day long, just all day. The veins are popping. She's, right now, when we did the DEXA scan, she was at 13%, which is about 8-9% on a man. And she was at 19 on our scale then, percent body fat. The DEXA is the real deal, though. That's the real true number. And our scale was fucked up. And any of these scales that do body fat, I recommend it. I recommend people having one. I recommend people using it. I don't recommend people using that number to tell your
doctor,
your friends and the public that's your body fat percentage. Gotcha. You don't want to do that because it's not that accurate. What's accurate about is which direction your body fat's going. So that's how you use it. And you should weigh yourself every day. People that say you shouldn't weigh yourself every day are just wrong. It's the only way that you can really measure and know that you're going consistently in the right direction. Once or twice a week, you can't average that out. And people fluctuate. You just can't. It's not good. And even if you're counting all your macros, even if you're counting all your calories, you still have to get on the scale. And scale's not accurate, but you know which direction you're going. But you know what else is also not accurate? Your calories. It can be off. Every package can be off like 20%. So some people say, I thought I was in a 500 calorie deficit and I'm not losing any weight. Well, then if you're not losing any weight, guess what? You're probably not in a deficit. That the numbers you're inputting into the app that you're using are just wrong. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's what the government allows them to do as far as the range of being accurate, right? So that means you still have to do what? Get on the scale and look in the mirror. And that's what we concentrate on versus counting calories, which, whatever. We focus on protein. And that's what people are shocked by. You mean you don't count this? No. We focus on protein. She's somebody that does need carbs. I don't need carbs like she does. She definitely needs it for energy. And then we put her carbs around her workout. And people think you can't, potatoes are bad. Bullshit.
Love myself a potato.
Bullshit. Baked potato, fantastic, man. Fantastic. Rice, and it's all bullshit. Brown, white, rice, white rice. Pfft. The only difference is the fiber. It's the same. Like, it's just stupid shit that still floats out there as advice when it comes to fitness and nutrition. It's just dumb. Okay? Now, for me, and I don't need the carbs. I try to keep my carbs low. So for me, I actually use cauliflower rice because it is lower calories. That's how I fill in. All right. But somebody that I was talking to yesterday who has trouble putting on weight, I told him, you just need regular rice. You just need to eat it. I eat a burger. I get rid of the bun. That dude needs to eat the fucking bun. Okay. I would suggest eating a good bun. High quality, the kind that has like 2 or 3 ingredients in it. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not putting other shit into the bread, but high quality. Yeah, do that if you need that. Everybody's different. That's my whole point. But in the case of, like I said, Dawn, we're using this. And when we get on the scale, like I said, she was at 19 and 13 on the same day. 19 on our scale, 13 on the DEXA scan, and she's going to get it, I think it's the first week. It's 2 weeks from the show that we're going to both get the DEXA scans again. And the company is called DEXAFit, and I believe they're around the country. But I just had a friend, one of my clients, who did one in a mobile van where they had a DEXAFit. And it was only like $50-some. We paid $72, which was fine. I think it's worth the money, especially if you're older. It's also going to tell you about how strong your bones are and other information that's really super good. And that's important when you get older. Why? Because if your bone strength is an issue and you don't address it early enough, then there's a greater chance down the road when you are really old, when you're rounding the corner old, okay, that you're going to break a hip and then die, because that's what happens. People break a hip and they die. It's like crazy how the two are related. But ask any nurse or doctor. It just is a thing. And both of us really strong bones. Like, my shit's going to be good into the 90s, which is great, because that's my plan. That's my plan. 95 is my plan. And I want to be a jacked 65-year-old, a jacked 75-year-old, a jacked 85-year-old. I'm going down to be the best I am the whole time. But, yeah, so DEXAFit, if it's in your area, I highly recommend them. If it's not, you'll be able to find somebody. Just look it up. It's definitely worth it. And I wanted to do it like that, fasted, so we could link our scales so I would know what the difference is between the two scales, how much our scale was off from the DEXAFit. Well, now Dawn is at 17% on our scale, which leads me to believe if she was 13 at DEXAFit and 19 on our scale, and she's at 17 now, she's at least under 12. Legitimately had to drop one. So she's somewhere between 11 and 12. And with 4 weeks to go, I would say, 1% more. 1% more. And I don't even know where we're going to get it, because she's just, like I said, she was in good shape a year and a half ago. And Leo's seen her the whole time, pretty much, that she's been here. And she made a big transformation after she first got here in the first 6 months. Then she made another transformation and just getting in really super good shape, and then decided to do the show. And so she's, in the last year and a half, about every 6 months or so, she's upped her game a level. And now this is the highest level. And to do this at 56 years old, the discipline it takes is amazing. And I think we're going to do an interview with Dawn. She doesn't know it yet, unless she's listening to the show now. I haven't told her. We're going to do an interview at the studio at my house and talk to her and get her perspective on this, because I think it will definitely be helpful. The things she's doing aren't always necessarily the things that somebody who just wants to look good naked wants to do, but you can extrapolate those things. Certain things are just going to be true. And we are trying, yes, we're using PEDs, but we are trying to do this in the most healthy possible way. She gets regular labs. I get regular labs. All right. And we're talking of all the hormones, all the stuff getting done on a regular basis. And we've done that a couple times recently for her, just to make sure we're on track. So there is a right way to do this stuff. If it's not something you want to do, that's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to. You should still, as far as using PEDs or hormone replacement therapy, you got people out there that spout off against like legit hormone replacement therapy, that everybody who, has issues should just suck it up. Well, we don't tell people that have problems with their thyroid that. We don't tell people who are diabetics that. But people who have other issues, because it can also be used as a PED, it must be bad, and it's just bullshit. And men get the worst treatment, really, literally the worst treatment. I just had a guy in the gym, 34 years old, talking to me, and he's having some issues, and he's in good shape, natural, good shape. but his testosterone level's low. And he's going to get it retested. And then we're going to go over the labs and that. And, you know, somebody who's 34 years old that has a testosterone level, say it comes back around 350. Well, it's not, that 350 is not going to be, the lowest normal range at most labs. And as I've said before, all labs have a different range. Different doctors have different ranges. Urologists have different ranges than other doctors. It's crazy. It's not science, not real science, by the way. And that's not the most important thing. The number is important, but it's not the only thing. How do you feel? Are you experiencing any symptoms? That too is super, super important. And you got to put those two together. And so somebody being 34, who's at the low end, but he's 34, typically a doctor is going to blow him off. Oh, you're worried about nothing. You're good. You having sex issues? Nope, not having sex issues. Because that can be a symptom, but it's not a symptom everyone has. So you can't rule it out just because somebody doesn't have it, which a lot of these doctors do, which is total fucking bullshit. All right? And any doctor that wants to challenge me on this, you know, message the show, message Leo, message me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or X, and we'll make you a guest. If you're a legit doctor and you want to debate me on this, you want to take the other side, please do. Because I'll challenge anybody on this stuff. This is what I know, forwards and backwards, left and right. It's my game 24 hours a day. That's what I do. So he's going to get blown off by the doctor. That's going to be it. He's not going to get treated. And that's how men get treated. And it didn't used to be where men in their late 20s or early 30s, it used to not be a very common thing for men to have low testosterone at those ages. But it is starting to become common more and more and more. And especially as men become aware of it and get tested and, you know, wondering why they're sluggish and have no energy, have trouble, you know, losing fat, have trouble adding muscle. Because they just grind it out. That's what men used to be taught, is you just grind the shit out, man. You just put in the work. That's what everybody's going to tell you, right? Just put in the work hard, get in there, work harder. And that's all great. You need to do that. But if you do that and your hormones aren't right, you're not going to get the results that you deserve. And if you get your hormones right and you're not putting in the work, you'll be better, but you're not going to be the best you can be either. That's not the answer, right? So, yeah, just helping other people. And I think, you know, we've gotten more into helping more women now that Dawn has come into my life. Because the guys that I help, they say, hey, what can you do for women? So we're adding peptides and things to the list and things that we're talking about with clients and recommending for them, specifically for women. And I've always had some women clients, but obviously, you know, with my harshness, that takes a special kind of woman, or they're referred to me. But yeah, you want the softer version? That's Dawn. But she's still blunt too. She's gonna tell you as well. Because we get those people, you know. Can I still drink 3 times a week? Yeah, the shit's not gonna work that good if you do that. I actually saw a woman post yesterday listing all these things that you shouldn't do if you were trying to lose weight. Not eating certain things and stuff. And actually, I thought her list was bullshit. But there was one thing she didn't have on the list that I pointed out. No alcohol. And so her comeback was, you know, picking something like vodka and mixing it, you know, to keep it lower calorie. No, it's such bullshit. She's telling people what to do with all the food, but didn't want to go out on a limb and offend her girlfriends that those cocktails are not helping them. You know, and if you're not willing to stop the alcohol for a little while, while you want to take semaglutide or Ozempic or Wegovy or any of those, you're wasting your money. Or you're wasting the insurance company's money. Really, it makes it way too hard to do if you're not willing to do that. And then if the alcohol is that important to you, you might have another issue. You might want to think about that. But if it should be no issue for you to stop for a while. If it's not, something that's that important in your life. I would think being fit and healthy would be more important. And I'm not telling people they can't ever drink. I'm just telling you that if you do drink, if you want results with your body, to get there, the road is easier without the alcohol. That's all. If you are there and you are fit and you have a drink, your body isn't gonna go to shit overnight. It's like having dessert, right? Then that's the difference. And it's like Dawn. Now, Dawn and I, people who listen to the show or follow me or know me, know that Dawn and I eat at very nice places. We have very good diets, but we do like to enjoy dessert when we go to these nice places. You listen to Alex Hormozy, and he first got his start in owning gyms and doing meal plans and stuff, and he's in great shape. Now he's known for, other types of business help, and he's great at it, but the dude's still jacked. And he eats dessert on a regular basis. But to get there, that's what I'm saying. You can't do it to get there. Now, that's it. Like for me now, living with somebody, I did have like a sorbet. And Dawn's not really into the sorbet. I like that to cleanse my palate, especially a raspberry or lemon after a really good meal. Or even better would be true Italian ice, like Italy kind of Italian ice. That's really my favorite. But I like other desserts. But, we're not doing the desserts right now. I'm not doing the desserts. And I still could, but why would I be a dick in front of her? There's still things I can eat. Or if I'm going to eat something that maybe she can't, maybe I do that at a different place or do it for lunch. Just to be good. That's what it's like living with somebody that's doing a contest prep. And even for myself. So I was at 13 or 17% when we went to get the DexaFit scan. And that 17% on my home scale. And it ended up being 13% on the DEXA. Well, right now, I'm 15 on the home scale. And I'm going to get a DEXA done again here soon. So I'm thinking I'm under 12% now. And the last time that I probably got that low was probably when I did the 75 hard. Okay. And then prior to that was when I last competed in 2022 in the Kentucky Open to get under 10. But I certainly didn't get as low, the equivalent of low as a man, as what Dawn is now. If I would have done what Dawn's accomplished, and that's why I have so much respect for her and what she's already done before she even steps on stage. If I had done that, I would have won. I still might not have beaten the fat guy who had the inside with the dude that was running the show, but I did do a couple different classes. So, like True Novice, and the fat guy wasn't in True Novice. He was in the Master's class. So, but that's funny. But yeah, so to get there, because it is hard, I'm going to tell you, I think having a goal like Dawn does, and if you're somebody who's disciplined, it makes it, in some ways, a little easier. Because the goal is so important to her to do her best, not to win, although I think she can, but to just be at her best. All you can control is being your best on that day. And that's it. And if you don't do these other little things, you can't say you did everything, and you really know in your heart if you've done everything you can. And she's doing that. Where for me, I don't have a set date that I have to be a certain look. So it makes it even harder because, well, do I have this dessert or not? Yeah, I can still have the dessert. I'm not training for a competition. I'm better than 99% of men my age. I'm in the top 1%, right where I'm at. And who wouldn't be happy with that? I'm happy with that. You know, I'm not happy with this little skin here that I have here, you know, the little love handles that we often think are fat, except mine aren't fat. Mine are actually skin. And that's been proven by the DEXA scan and a doctor that does those kind of surgeries. And you can't train skin off. It's not a thing. But visually, when I see that, that's what I see. And so trying to connect the two to what I see in the mirror to what it actually is, that's not easy either. But so it's all hard. It's all hard. But when you have a goal and a date for that goal, that is a really awesome thing, I think. You know, that really, at least for me, that kind of thing works. And it works for Dawn. Maybe that's not everybody else. I don't know. I can only speak for what our experience is, but she's always been very disciplined. And when she sets out to do something, she gets really, really locked in, and she is really locked in. And so getting her perspective, you know, will be nice. So we'll probably do that. I don't know if we're going to do it before or after the show. Maybe we'll do both. I don't know. That we'll see what we decide to do here. But I think there are definitely some things that she can share from her point of view that y'all might want to share with your wives too. And share some clips, share the show. Everybody is welcome. Both genders are welcome to watch the show. All right. So that's kind of what I had on that stuff. What's going on in the world? Good Lord, people. I don't know if you know. Did you know that tomorrow they're planning no Kings protests again across the United States? Your mic.
I was muted. I apologize. No, I did not know that.
Yes. Yeah. So they're organized again. And think about it. The people that are going to participate in this no Kings are actually the ones that liked that type of thing, where they would decree, where the government would decree what kind, you know, whether you wore a mask or not, whether you got a shot or not, whether you could go to work or school or not. People that wanted to control you, your business. No Kings. You know what? Trump doesn't have problems talking to kings. And I'm sure, I don't mind. Does he admire authoritarians? Probably. In just that they can just do shit and get shit done. And that's all he cares about is getting shit done. And that's, you know, the thing about, I think most Republicans get it. Not all Republicans get it. But no Democrat gets it. That Trump isn't really about either party. And he was a Democrat at one time. And I don't think that left him. I just think the Democratic Party went so far over the edge that for all practical purposes, it was going to serve him best politically to declare to be a Republican. Because literally the guy only cares about getting things done. He cares about transactions. That's it. And maybe that has some drawbacks, but I don't know. It sure has, it's producing a lot of really good shit. A lot of good benefits. And I also saw that Trump, this is after a huge weekend and going over to the Middle East last weekend and going over to the Middle East. huge that yesterday, I guess, he had a very long phone call with Vladimir Putin, and now is going to be meeting with Zelensky again, because one of the things I said earlier in the week, I believe, was that that's what Trump's going to be able to do now.
They're protesting in Hawaii?
They're protesting. Of course, why not, man? They're all over the place. Look at that. Tell me that's not, paid for and organized by some people. That doesn't mean every protester is paid, but a lot of them are. That this is organized shit. This isn't people just upset, instantaneous kind of thing. These are people that are going to be wasting a Saturday, in my opinion. But hey, do what you want to do. I'm going to be watching football, and I don't give two shits. I will give two shits because you know what's going to happen somewhere. There is no way they are going to go through all of these protests and not have any violence. There's no way. I don't believe that's going to happen. Let's see if it actually does. See who's right. We'll see. But, yeah. Where was I at before that? My Joe Biden moment. We all have them. Mostly, except I don't shuffle or not know what day it is or something other like that. Yeah. Oh, my God. It just reminds me of Occupy Democrat. That's what it reminds me of, the No Kings. It's just bullshit. But anyways, I know it was the Trump and Zelensky, and that I said earlier in the week that one of the things that is going to also come out of at least getting over the hump and getting a true peace process started in the Middle East is Trump is going to be able to pivot, and the world, including Europe, again, to focus on getting the situation resolved in Ukraine and Russia. And again, it's not that Trump likes dictators, but he knows that we have to, that we want to make the best deal that we can with any country we can that's going to be the best for us and the best for us financially and, doing trade. That's what it's about. What can we get done so that we can get, and it's really, again, the Democrats, I've explained this before. It truly is like the mafia. And Trump is kind of like the Godfather. That's how the Godfather figure, like the boss of bosses, right? So what you have is think of each of the different countries like a mafia family. And there's the head of that mafia family in, that country, just like, you had the different heads of the mafia here. Same thing. And then occasionally they would get together, all of the heads, and work things out. And it's usually because these two idiots over here, these two other families over here, are warring with each other over territory or money or a certain type of business, right? And then everybody has to respect what the boss of bosses says, that he's going to hear both sides and make a decision, and they're going to move forward based on that decision so that everybody can get back to making money and stop killing each other. Because when the mafia families would fight with each other, I mean, look through our real history. This is not a TV show or a movie, like legitimate history. There was some major bloodshed that went on and major killings of different hierarchy, not just the little dudes, not just the associates, but the capos and others that, had some authority or the head of a crew and that kind of stuff. Yeah, that would get killed. It'd be bloody. And they had a hard time making money because when they would break out fighting like that, what they didn't want is attention from authorities, right? They didn't want they didn't want the cops around, man. They didn't want the cops around. That's not a thing. But when you're killing people in the street and it's making the news, the cops are going to pay more attention and start cracking down too. So when they're doing that and you're fighting with another family, it makes it hard to make money. hard to pick up money, hard to do all the different things they did. That's how I see Trump. And that's why Trump is so good at his fucking job. Is he wasn't the boss of bosses then, but when he did construction, I promise you 100%, did Trump ever do business with known gangsters? Of course he did. He had no choice. There is nobody who built anything in New York that was a builder that didn't have to deal at some point with the mob. Why? Because they controlled the unions and they controlled the trades, and they were also controlling things like concrete and shit, right? So shit wasn't getting poured without them, and you need the concrete. So, yeah, you had to make deals. You had to make deals like skimming or this real legit stuff. You know, those jobs where people, technically there's a job and somebody's getting paid, but they're no-show jobs. I don't know. Watch The Sopranos, okay? That's real shit, okay, that had to be done. And Trump knows that world. He knows how that works. And he treats this the same way. Violence, right? But he'd rather not use violence. That's where you make the threat, right? Haven't you ever seen that and how that works? You make the threat like, look, you're going to have to pay, and paying for protection. That's what Trump did to NATO, right? What Trump did to NATO is he said, y'all aren't paying enough. We had agreed on a certain percentage, and you're not kicking up that percentage. And so if you don't kick up that percentage going forward, we're not going to abide by the agreement and protect you. So you better want to kick up now. He demanded it. And he got it. In fact, they're like, you know, we should increase it from 3% to 5%. It's the way of the world, man. And we are not so advanced as human beings that violence isn't sometimes an answer.
I don't know if it's the answer, though.
Oh, I don't think it is. You'd rather it not be. But that's Trump's mentality with it. I'd rather not. But if you make me, just like he's laid it down after they've traded the hostages between Israel and Hamas. And now see, you stupid ass motherfuckers. You didn't realize what you were doing. Now what's happening in Palestine? What's happening there in Gaza?
I have no idea.
Hamas is killing tribals, different tribes, and because there's a lot of tribal shit in the Middle East, period. That was the same way in Afghanistan and stuff. They have these different tribes and these different factions, different types of religious factions, you know, kind of like we have, you know, Lutherans and Methodists.
Okay.
Muslims, Islam has the same thing. They have different, like how strict they are and that kind of stuff, how they view it. Yeah, it's all the Quran, but they all have
their branches.
And interpretations. Same thing. Well, now they're killing, like literally bringing people that may have helped, we don't know, may have helped Israel against Hamas. They're capturing people, bringing them into the middle of the street and executing them. So the violence now isn't between Hamas and Israel. It's between Hamas and other Palestinians. That's what's going on right now. And because they're not supposed to be in control. What's supposed to happen is they're supposed to agree to lay down their arms, and at some point in the future, the Palestinian people should get a chance to vote again. And there's no way that Hamas should be allowed to participate in those elections. And there's no way that they should be, that you can let a terrorist organization rule a country, be in charge of a country. Now, it's not a country now, but just a group, whether we make it an official state or whatever, you still got to have some type of government or some type of governing body with authority, and that can't be terrorists. But that's literally what's happening right now. And Trump's message is real simple. They are going to comply. They're going to do what was agreed to. And if they don't do it the right way, then it'll be handled another way. Whether that is like, we're supposed to have like 200 troops there.
I think they already sent them over like a few weeks back.
Yeah.
But I mean, from this article that I'm reading that happened earlier today, it looks like they will not back down.
We're hearing that. Just wait to see how it plays out. But if they don't back down, they already lost their leverage, so they can't like kill the remaining hostages.
But what do they have to lose at this point? Like if we're talking,
it's
at
not
that
what
point,
they
like,
have to lose; it's what they have to gain, which is.
But if they have nothing to gain at that point,
dude, that's the whole point with these people, because they don't give a fuck, man. They care about being martyrs. They don't give a shit. They care. They're not willing to. That's why I don't know how you negotiate with them ever. Why you just kill them? But people were tired of the killing. Israel didn't do good marketing, I guess. I don't know. But they don't want Israel to be able to exist. And if you can't agree that somebody else is able to exist, that you can't at least like live with each other or not be friends, or like just you go about your life, I'm going to go about mine. I don't like you, but just you do your thing, we're going to do our thing. They can't do that. Their whole thing is about taking over. And not just there. These motherfuckers are playing the long game. I believe there's a certain group, not all Muslims, but there's a certain group of Muslims that the long game is an Islamic world. Islamism everywhere. And occasionally, you'll hear them actually talk about it. They'll actually admit it. You'll see videos of, these different leaders speaking and talking about what the real goal is. That's the real goal, man. And people who have that as a goal, and part of their thing is, right, that it's okay to lie to get to their goal. So it's okay to temporarily, so you can never trust them.
Yeah, but I mean...
Yeah, but what? You can't ever trust them, man.
I mean, if we're going to... Because, like, hear me out, right?
Yes.
So same thing with Christianity, right? Like, people feel like it's okay to lie, cheat, steal, as long as they ask for forgiveness. Like,
they're not real Christians.
Yeah, but
that's not being a real Christian.
But that's the whole Christianity thing, right? It's like God will forgive you of your sins. You just have to repent, right? I mean, it's like...
Yeah, but that's not for me to judge. That's for God to judge. But that doesn't give you the right to just do whatever you want then. And if people are continuing... There's a difference between sinning and people consciously making decisions that they know.
I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of Christians that are consciously aware of what they're doing, but because they believe that God will forgive, that they're okay with it as long as they repent.
Yeah, but that's just wrong. That's not a thing.
But that's what the Bible says, right?
No, it does not. It does not say you can just do whatever you want.
I mean, because that's the whole concept of it, right? Like you can fuck up, you can make a mistake.
Can fuck up. I did make mistakes. Yes,
as long as you ask for forgiveness.
It's not about just asking for forgiveness. You got to actually mean it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, God will judge that, whether they actually mean it or not. So just because somebody says it, you can choose to believe them or not, but it's not up to me or you to believe them. God will be the final arbiter of whether that's the case or not. But if they think that's the case, they're badly misled by that. But that's not the focal point of Christianity is not to make everybody a Christian, and if they don't become a Christian, that you should kill them. That is the case in Islam. That you will either convert, and if you don't convert, they will kill you.
Like I said, I think that might just be that group of people. I don't think that's what Islamic culture believes. I could be wrong, but I don't believe that's what Islamic culture believes.
The ones that we have to worry about is that group, and they're not a small group. That's a significant group. They're the ones that think that theocracy or their Islamic theocracy should, is the government. That's Sharia law. Yeah, there's some that, are just, they're like Muslim light. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can call yourself a Catholic, but if you don't abide by Catholic orthodoxy, then are you really a Catholic? What, just because you got baptized Catholic, that makes you a Catholic? You still have to do what, celebrate the certain days. If you're Jewish, the Jews, like real Jews, still take like the day 7 off, man. That's a thing. And if you wanted to convert to Judaism, it takes like a year to do that. It takes a while. And there are steps that you have to do. First of all, you'd be wearing one of those things on top of your head, okay, because it's required. And then you wouldn't be working on Saturday because you're not allowed to. So you have to follow the orthodoxy to be able to convert. It's especially if you're not somebody that was born a Jew, that you didn't have 2 Jewish parents, but you want to convert. It's not an easy thing to do, but you have to follow it. And if somebody follows it, at least, I respect that. And look here, like, they'll tell you that theirs is the real one. This is what you have to do. I just don't know. That's the group that's the problem. The people that mostly, I've never really encountered somebody like that much here and there. In my own personal life, I've only met a few where mostly I've met the same type of Muslims that most of us meet, and that they're practicing, but they don't think I should convert, and if I don't convert, I should be killed, that kind of thing. But if you find out these particular groups, if you focus on them, do those groups believe that? Do these terrorist organizations believe? Yes. They did. That's what the whole caliphate was about with ISIS. If you concentrate on just ISIS, right? They believe that. And I'm just saying they're playing the long game that they would. So if they need to do something for immediate survival so that they can group, they're just going to keep chipping away and chipping away and chipping away. And they're doing that here in this country. You look around, because we're not growing. They are. Just by sheer numbers. They're having more kids than we are. They're growing as a group.
General?
Yes.
Okay.
Across the world.
Yeah. It's like the number one growing.
Yes.
And like for a few years now, actually.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
But do you think that's because that religion seems to be more reasonable, I guess, quote unquote? Or what do you think is the reason behind that?
That they're growing?
Yeah, they're obviously the biggest growing religion.
Oh, they by far are.
That's a fact, yeah. Like what do you believe contributes to that? Why are people getting away from the Christianity?
Well, I don't know if this is in this case I attribute it more towards them having families, like having a lot of kids.
Gotcha.
versus the number. That's the greatest part of the growing of the Islamic faith is the birth rate.
You think
versus conversion. I'm not saying that there's no conversion. I'm just saying I don't know what the percentage is. Yeah. Like, I don't know if it's 60-40, 70-30, 80-20. I don't know what the difference, but I would at least say at least 60, and it could be higher, that the biggest percentage is the birth rate factor, and we do have those stats. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't have conversion stats.
Gotcha. No, I was just curious after you're like,
but you are, like, you may or may not, I mean, I think it's true for everyone, but I think that you're more likely, just in general, to become the faith of your parents than not.
I honestly would disagree with that. I think, or at least maybe in America, in the U.S., it's much more common for people to go the opposite direction.
I don't look. I don't disagree with that happens. I just mean, in general, that's going to have an influence on you.
It's going to have an influence,
or
for
that
sure.
you'll come back to it later in life.
Okay.
Or like for me, I was. My parents started out as Lutheran, and then we went to the United Church of Christ, which was, geez, I can't even say. Yeah, it was way different than it is today. They're off the charts, like
that's what I was
very,
say.
very liberal. The United Church of Christ is very, very liberal.
Them specific, okay.
Super, super liberal now. But still, because that's what I knew as a kid.
Yeah.
So then kind of when I'm doing my own thing, I was searching for God, I went looking for God in all different types of religious groups.
Yeah.
Like I said, whether it be Baptist or Pentecostal, or initially I went back to the church I knew, which we didn't have the same type of thing that Catholics do, but we had something very similar to that, where you went through this process as a teenager for 2 years before you did your first communion. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't believe that's a thing actually today. Just like I don't believe in baptizing a baby. If the parents do it, it's great. We did not baptize our daughter. In fact, I don't even know if she's been baptized since. She might. She's Catholic now, and we weren't Catholic, but she's still more on that side of being a Christian than not. And I know there's a debate on whether Catholics are Christians and stuff. I'm not getting into that, but just generally. And then for me, ended up in more non-denominational churches. I like the churches that play more modern Christian music, that are more, that the message isn't relaxed, but the atmosphere is, that it's welcoming to everybody, that, you don't have to pretend to be a certain way on Sunday and put that suit and tie on. That's what we did, 50 years ago. You dressed up on Sunday. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to dress up on Sunday and do that thing. I mean, that's the part of America a lot of people miss that we don't have. But, I wear this to church.
You want to be comfy to church.
Yeah, because either before church or after church, I'm probably going to the gym. But it's okay. And my pastor's wearing tennis shoes. It just is what it is now. But still, that's just me personally. But I think you're more likely. But it's not that people like me don't convert to being Muslim. I just think there's a greater chance that I am going to end up somewhere on the Christian side than on the Muslim side. And I think that's true for them. Muslims convert to Christianity. People that were born, there's Jews who become Christians.
Yeah. Actually,
they were born Jewish to become Christians.
Can you guess the amount of people that stay Christian compared to Muslims? What do you have in that? Out of percentage, out of 100% of people? How many Muslims stay Muslims and how many Christians stay Christians?
I think Muslim side, it would be maybe in the 70, 80%. And in the Christian, it probably, because to me, where people have been going, but I think that's starting to change, is they went to nothing. They didn't necessarily, that atheists and that they don't believe there's a God or a higher power, but they don't like the church structure, and they're just anti-church. They're not anti-God or Jesus, and maybe they worship on their own or don't, but they're more we're going to nothing.
Yeah.
Than I think on the Christian side.
Specific, yeah.
But not now the younger generation they have seen that the numbers of Gen Z are growing in modern Christianity and searching that out. So I would say 50% or less for the Christians.
So 99% of Muslims keep their childhood religion. Christians only keep about 83%, which is still pretty.
That's still pretty good.
Pretty good.
That's still pretty good.
But that plays into what you were saying, where a lot of
that you're just more likely
to stick around.
And so, if that's the case, if they're having more kids, that's why the birth rate matters so much, right?
Yeah.
Because just ordinarily, that's just gonna happen.
Correct.
And look, here's what I do respect: Bill Maher and Tom Bellew, both in the sense that they're not Christians, but they understand the role that religion does play in keeping society more civil. Because if you have those beliefs, you're going to act a certain way based on those beliefs that, where it's not relative. It's like if you don't have God in your life, these godless people, which is where we have the problems with most of these people that have been involved in these mass shootings, like they're really godless people. It's not any side. It's not, the Christian or Muslim. They're just some godless fucking people where they're not. So they think that's why they think it's okay. Look at the number of people now. They just did a recent survey on this. The number of young people that think it's okay to commit violence with the people that they disagree with. And the number is, I don't know, 60%. It's a lot. It's a shocking number that think it's okay. And it's not okay. But again, they can justify. They don't have that basic religious foundation to tell them it's not okay. So they have to use other things as to justify or judge it, right? They can't. Nothing is black and white for them. And you can't be all gray. If all of your beliefs are in the gray area, that's probably not good. You got to have some foundational beliefs that it's better. Again, I believe a two-parent family that stays together is best. And I've been divorced. One child, but divorced, and divorced multiple times. It doesn't mean I think that, what I did was right, but I think that just the stats prove out that if you have both parents at home and you finish high school and you get a job after high school, that you most likely are not going to be poor. You may not be rich. You may be lower middle class, but at least you're not likely to be poor. Yeah. Those are the three main factors that determine success. Now, does that mean that kids of divorce or kids who don't have fathers around can't be productive and have great lives? Of course they can. Of course they can. Patrick Bet David, his parents got divorced. So, yeah, of course that's a thing. But you can't deny that it's still better for kids to have both parents. And if they're not, it is better for the child to have the dad in their life than the dad to just disappear. Versus, if there is a divorce, to still have two parents, it's still an important thing. It is a determining factor. It's more likely to. That's how we got there with college. It used to, I don't think it's true anymore like it was, but there was a time when things did really reflect that. There was a difference between the people that had college degrees and people that didn't. Those numbers were real. They're less real today. And, just the cost of it and things, and what people end up doing is different. So, and it's much harder. Look, I even said that about my own experience. To do what I did, to become a financial advisor and to get the highest licenses in the business of investment, Series 24. It's higher than a Series 7. Your stockbroker's a Series 7. Your Series 24 can do everything a Series 7 can do, and he can supervise Series 7. So it's the highest license that you can get. And I was a registered investment advisor. And I had my Series 65. And I had my insurance and variable licenses. All right? To do that, when I was coming up in that, and I had to go through a side door into a company that gave me the opportunity to get my Series 7 right away. If I would have went to a bank, it's still true at most banks today. If a bank like yours, typically they're going to have some people that have a Series 6. And a Series 6, now they've changed the licensing and stuff over the last number of years since I've been out. But basically, that's the people with the mutual funds and stuff. They can't do individual stocks. That if you got into a bank and you got a little moving up, they would do that for somebody. Because they knew if you left the company, that you weren't going to go to, that the people that weren't going to steal you wasn't going to be Merrill Lynch, because you needed a Series 7 for them. And you may get in, you may not get in. But if you had a Series 7 already, you're much more likely, if you change companies, to be able to get in there than if you didn't. And the people, there wasn't, financial planning as a degree when I began in the business. Only like 2 schools actually had a degree in it at the time in the whole country. Now they offer it as, something that you can kind of major in. So it was business, it was, accounting or something other related, but it wasn't actually stocks, bonds, investments, financial planning, but you came from a side field, and that's who they interviewed for the jobs. That's who got the chance. Okay, you're just graduated. Okay, we know you know how to take tests, because that's what you did in college. You took tests. You studied shit and took tests. And it's a hard test, and you're more apt to pass it than me, the guy who's a few years older, who didn't go to college, but I found somebody that gave me that opportunity too. And I snuck in that way. But I was competing against everybody else. So if you wanted to have the easier road, you went to Michigan State or you went to some school. Like, I remember being in the class. There was actually a class you would take that would teach you how to take the test. And the other people in the class, I was like the only one that hadn't been to college. And they were from Michigan State and business and, Toledo and Central Michigan. And, that's just the area I lived in. That's where all the people were from, different schools like that. So you were more likely to make it if you're there. I'm more of an exception. So, I don't want people to think that if you don't have a father that you can't be successful. That's not the case. But just what's most likely to happen. What's most likely. And then how you view that is how, I wear that shit as a badge of honor, that I was able to do that the toughest way. Now, same goes for the religious part that we were talking about. You're more likely to. So it is what it is, for sure. And I think it's, we started with the no kings, didn't we? It ended up here. All right. But I think there was some good shit in there for sure. And like I said, like the protests, I think America is so tired. Let these people do their shit. People are so tired of the left, and they keep using the same playbook over and over again. And it's just not resonating. It's just not. And I don't care who you are, but more reasonable people the people who, don't hate Trump, maybe they're not Trump fans, but they don't hate the guy like these people do. You're not going to attract those people by attacking the guy who just got something started in the Middle East that everybody acknowledges with half a brain how great it is that he's done this. And it is great. Whatever the result is. Because the idea is, like I said, it's working towards that. Even though Trump didn't resolve the Russia-Ukraine conflict on day one, what's most important is it's been an important part of his presidency every day since he's been in there. Something he's working towards. Where I didn't feel like the Biden administration was ever doing anything to end it. Other than giving Ukraine weapons, hoping against hope that they could somehow win a war that's not really winnable. It may not be winnable for either side. But it certainly wasn't winnable for Ukraine. It just wasn't, and it's not. But coming up with some peaceful, but we were never working towards peace. You never heard them talking about it even. So I think that's good shit. That's amazing. I think Trump just wants to get it all done. And his idea is going into this, like I said it earlier, it's like the mafia. It's getting the sides coming up with, look, this is going to be the result. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. And then we're all going to go back to making money. Let's make money. Let's make life better for everyone. And I think Trump truly wants that for everyone. Not just a certain group of people, not just rich people. Democrats act like they don't have any billionaires or wealthy people that matter. And that's just garbage. It's just garbage. So take it for what you want. Is there anything else I wanted to hit? I will say this, because it's kind of on the stuff that we hit. The New York mayoral race, that there's a couple good spots. If you check out the PBD broadcast from earlier today, that they were talking about the debate last night, and I read some articles in it too, and I actually saw a couple of the clips that they actually played, and obviously I'm not a Mamdani fan. I'm not a fan of anyone that is not just a socialist, but really exemplifies communism more than Bernie Sanders even. I think this guy is to the left of Bernie Sanders, and that's hard to do, right? It is. But the debate, as bad as the debate was last night from the clips that I saw and just how the moderators handled it, it just was not good. There's a couple clips in there, there's always going to be something that stands out, like what stood out for Trump, remember, when he talked about putting Hillary in jail. Or when, when she talked about the rigged system. And he said, yeah, it is rigged. I mean, there were just a couple times where you just come up big like that. And Mamdani did. I hate to even say it, but Mamdani was being attacked by Cuomo, justifiably, as this dude has zero government experience. Zero. And he doesn't have any real business experience. And he's never really had a job. So how do you want somebody who's never had a job, no business experience, no government experience, to be in charge of one of the most important cities in the country? That's like a tall ask, right? And I get that. But he mentioned, what's going to happen if a hurricane happens or some tragedy. And then the dumbass says pandemic. Cuomo says it. And remember, Cuomo was the governor of New York. And he's the one that put people in nursing homes and killed the people in the nursing homes. He's responsible for that. And everybody knows that. He handled that so badly. But he brought that up. And what did Mamdani do? Yeah, let's talk about the pandemic. And you're going to vote for the guy who killed all these people in nursing homes? It was a great answer by Mamdani, honestly. He killed it. He can use that, and he's already in the lead to kind of cruise right through. Because whatever the other bullshit is this dude wants to do, I think sometimes we have to go through periods where we have to tolerate certain things so that people understand, that's like I had to work in a really shitty job in a really shitty factory to know that I didn't want to do that kind of stuff in my life, that I wanted to live differently. You have to go through it. And so maybe the people in New York and maybe the country needs to see if you need more proof. It's not that we don't have enough proof that communism and socialism doesn't work. We do have enough proof. But maybe because of this new generation, maybe they need to figure it out firsthand. That they just can't figure it out on their own. They have to actually experience it. And we've all done that, right? We've all had somebody in our life tell us, don't do this, and we did it anyways, and we had to learn the hard way. And that person ended up being right, and a lot of times it was our dad. And we thought our dad didn't know anything until we got older. And then we're like, I guess he was pretty smart. Y'all, everybody has those. That's what I see this as. Maybe that just has to happen. It'd be great if it didn't, because I just don't like those type of policies. But on the other hand, it's at a local level, very big local level, but it's not going to affect me directly. I'm in beautiful fucking Arizona. So if that's what New Yorkers want, you want to get fucked, then get fucked. That's on you. I care, but I don't care that much because I'm not there. I'd care more if I was there. But I just care in general just because I do. Because I'm a halfway, not fully, but halfway decent human being. All right, so I just thought I'd throw it there because since we got into that other stuff too. Have a great weekend. Y'all, check out, we're dropping a lot of content. Share those, especially those clips for me if you can, because I really think that's going to help direct traffic here. So I need your help in doing that. So share these clips for me. And they're going to be on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, Facebook. X, Facebook. Okay, I spread it out. Sometimes I put the same content on a couple platforms, but I do treat each one a little bit differently. But you could definitely check it out. All my shit's public. You don't even have to be a friend or follow me to find my shit. But I do appreciate if you do find my shit, that you do hit that follow button or hit that friend button or whatever. Much grateful for you all. Have a great weekend. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got him